Alright, so while I did do a John Wick fanfiction about yesterday, as of this recording, I had another idea that was kind of bubbling around in my head, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to just kind of post this as its own little video. Mostly because, like, I thought it'd be a cool idea, and honestly, Dynamite, if anyone from Dynamite sees this, feel free to use this as your own video, as your own plot for this, because Dynamite could technically, in theory, do this, because they both under, last I checked at least, they're both under the comic right for under Dynamite, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is, as you can see from the title, John Wick versus the Shadow. So John Wick versus the Shadow was just an idea that kind of came to me, and again, it's something that, like, you could see happening in Dynamite Comics. Like, that's the big thing, is that this could easily come out from they could announce this at Comic-Con this year, and I'm pretty sure people would go nuts at the thought of having it, because it actually makes a lot of sense. Like, this actually is a very logical crossover when you really get down to it. So let's get into the story, shall we? So the story is that this is actually set before the movies. This is set before even the first movie. This is before he meets Helen. This is when John was part of the Russian mob. And more or less what's going on is that Vigo is dealing with a sudden influx of his operatives being taken out. Like, a lot of his capos, his like top men are being found slaughtered and just gunned down by, and he thinks like it's a new guy, it's someone new, and he's gonna have Baba Yaga take care of it. However, what he doesn't know is it's someone a lot worse than some new mob or new hitman. And yeah, so John is sent onto the scene to hunt down whoever it is. And it isn't too long until he discovers that it is the Shadow. Now, the thing of it is, in this story, is that the Shadow is treated like a... Yeah, the Shadow is treated like a boogeyman. He's treated... He is like the boogeyman to all crime. And he has been seen for years. He's been seen in the shadows for decades. Hence, like I said, he's the Shadow. The Shadow has been a thorn in the High Table's side before, but he hasn't been seen in a long time. So he was just kind of relegated to like a myth or like a scary story assassins tell each other, or crime lords tell each other, like, oh yeah, one day the Shadow is going to come for me, or the Shadow is going to come for you. And now John is looking face to face with the Shadow, and the two get into an all-out gunfight between them. John and Cranston just get into a full-on just gunfight between the two of them. It gets close range, it gets far range, but the thing is that that John is dealing with an opponent that is on another level. He was not expecting to think. He wasn't even thinking that the Shadow was real. He was expecting that that it was just some random hitman he was going to fight. He didn't expect to run into a goddamn myth. So they start shooting it out, and then when they get close again, they get into hand-to-hand combat. And during that, John gets kind of his ass kicked by the Shadow, and he's forced to retreat back to the Continental. And that's where he sees Winston, and Winston's like, Jonathan, what happened to you, my boy? And John's just like, we need to talk. So John explains that it's like, I got attacked by the Shadow, and Winston's like, oh. And he's like, I know what you're going to say. You're going to say the Shadow is like a myth and I just was mistaken, or maybe it's some guy pretending to be the Shadow. And he's like, oh no, you met the Shadow. Winston's already like, oh no, you met the Shadow. Trust me, I know. If it was like, if it was some fake, someone pretending to be him, you'd have killed him. But honestly, I'm shocked that you survived. Like, Winston's all like, yeah, you definitely encountered the Shadow. Because if it was like some fake guy, he'd already be dead. Because only the Shadow would do this kind of damage to John. So Winston then explains that like the Shadow has always been a terror to the High Table, ever since the 20s. The Shadow and his little Shadow organization in and of itself have preyed on the High Table. They've been kind of silent for a bit, but that's because the Shadow has been monitoring everyone. Like, he's been more or less like, in case someone got too strong, or some family got too strong, he'd come in and swoop in and level the playing field. And John's like, that doesn't make any sense. Why would he just allow the High Table to exist? And Winston is like, well, he probably understands that a war between his organization and the High Table would just be a forever stalemate. So he's just here to be the garbage man, or the gardener is the better way to put it. Whenever a family gets too strong, he just comes in and cuts the branches, so to say. And it looks like you, Baba Yaga, and your little family have angered the Shadow. And he's like, and that's when, at this point, John's like, I'm not gonna just let him go, I'm gonna kill him next time I see him. And he's like, oh, I'm sure you will, Jonathan. No one kills the Shadow. And he's like, there's no, he's not, he's not really immortal, Winston. And he's like, I thought that too. And Winston then explains that the Shadow did try to kill him when he was first, during his early years as the consigliere of the Continental. It got attacked by the Shadow and his agents, and the Shadow actually shot him in the heart. Well, just above the heart, right here above right here near the shoulder, and almost bled to death. But Winston managed to crawl away, and the Shadow more or less set fire to the Continental, but it was rebuilt shortly thereafter. And now the Shadow has been stalking in New York, and he has been relegated to like being the boogeyman again. And it seems, and then and John's like, okay, so why now would he come out now to attack us? And he's like, well, probably because Vigo has more than likely pissed him off, Jonathan, and you, my dear boy, are standing in the way between him and his prey, and that's not a good place to be. So what are you going to do? And he's like, and John's like, I'm going to kill him. I cannot do a Keanu Reeves impersonation, as you guys can see. So John, after getting patched up, goes on the hunt again, but however, it's then found out that one of his the Shadow's agents drives up to him and attacks him. And he's like, Mr. Wick, my master would like to speak to you. And the Shadow, the Shadow is in the taxi with him, and as they're driving, he's like, Mr. John Wick, Baba Yaga, I've heard a lot about you, so I'm just going to let you know this. Your boss, he's dead. And the reason why I'm coming after him now is because he killed one of my friends. His men killed someone, and one of my agents, one of my friends in the police department. And I'm going to rain down on him. And if you get in my way, you're dead too. And he's like, you understand who I am. And John's like, you can try. And he's like, this is just a friendly warning. The next time I see you, you are dead. I just wanted you to understand that. And he's like, why not kill me now? And he's like, because you know you can't beat me. And John's like, we'll see about that. So the Shadow lets him go, and John is like, okay, I'm gonna have to get some guns. But yeah, so I think I'm gonna leave it off there. If you guys are interested, I will do a part 2 I'm kind of enjoying these kind of different parts instead of doing one long video. Just kind of do it separate parts. But you guys tell me what you guys think of this so far. Do you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know. And once again, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.